The band was not getting along. The Beatles would soon break up. But Paul McCartney had this vivid dream about his mother, Mary. She had died long before, when Paul was only 14. And now McCartney awakes from that dream, goes to the piano, and writes these now immortal words. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow. Let it be. Paul says that in that dream he could hear his mother say, "It will be all right. Just let it be." It was great to visit her with her again, Paul later said in an interview. I imagine Paul McCartney, the bassist and most beloved Beatle, felt much as we do right now. Disheveled, uncertain, isolated. He was struggling at the time. And it wasn't just the band not getting along. Maybe he was still carrying around the grief of his mother's death. Maybe he was depressed, perhaps numb to life. Let it be may have come to him in a dream, but the wisdom here is ancient. It sounds Taoist. And like all dreams, they come to us from within our bodies, our brains. Now, from the outside, our bodies appear to be symmetrical. If we take a line down the center of most of our bodies, many of us have an eye, an ear, an arm, and a leg for each side of that imaginary line. But when we take a peek inside our bodies, we see that we have specialized parts that do specialized things. Our hearts are over here on the left side, pumping away. A liver over here, cleaning out waste. It is the same with our brains. Our brains may look symmetrical, but areas of our brains have specialized parts. The right and left hemispheres are integrated, but each side does things differently. The two sides are connected, work together, and need each other. The left side, though, is more analytical and specializes in things like speech and math. The right hemisphere responds more to images and nonverbal communication. Moment by moment, our right hemisphere creates a collage of sounds, tastes, and smells. The sensations, emotions, and thoughts aren't rushed. They come as they are. Brain scientist Jill Bolte Taylor, who experienced a stroke in her 30s, lost her ability to speak and understand language because her left hemisphere was damaged. Yet she remained free to think intuitively and creatively. She found the borders between herself and other entities diminished. She felt a euphoric feeling of being one with it all. In the hospitals, the doctors would come into her room and ask her simple questions like, who was the president? And it would take a day's worth of strength to answer. And some feared she was in pain, but in fact, she felt one with the universe. She could intuit which nurses and doctors just wanted to get their job done and who really cared. A simple touch of the hand, looking in her eyes, not yelling, but talking softly. So all the nonverbal communication was still available to her. It is the right side of our brain that lets things be, that recognizes our interdependence with the planet, the big picture, and has the capacity to empathize with all being. The left side, on the other hand, processes information differently. It takes all the moments and strings them together in a linear fashion. Time becomes a thing then. The left side specializes in describing, defining, and categorizing. We look at a tree, we can dissect it. In the left hemisphere, we like and unlike things and put things in hierarchies. The left side excels in academics and assumes authority over the right. The left side is constantly chattering away. Remember to email the administrator about the reports. The left is constantly telling you what you are or aren't. A self, your identity. I am an ordained minister who lives in Canton, New York, a father, a husband. But of course, I'm much more. With all that taken away, Jill, the stroke patient, could quite easily let it be. For most of us, the left and right sides work beautifully together. But in a time like this, when our lives are thrown upside down, when it feels like this is going to be a long lost year, we become out of balance. How do we go into our right hemisphere's way of being when the world has stopped working as it always has? How do we become whole when our country is run by someone who cares about the stock market more than human life and health, who listens to cable news instead of science? And now COVID-19 is very much close to home here. St. Lawrence County, it appears, is starting to possibly peak in infections. How do we let things be amidst this chaos? Being leaves us when the thought loops take over, when the patterns repeat. When will the pandemic be over? When will life resume? How many people will die? The Tao Te Ching says to look inside your heart. And Paul McCartney says, let it be. They are saying the same thing. Go get back in balance. Get back into the right hemisphere. Letting it be acknowledges the collective grief that is in front of us. We can't interfere with light. We can't interfere with clouds. Most of us can do little to nothing. Those who are not researching a vaccine or making personal protective equipment, all we can do is stay at home and not have contact with people. Now, the activist side of me, the one who believes in changing and challenging the world, is not satisfied with just washing my hands and wearing masks and staying at home. But if we look into our souls, our hearts, we may notice there is a peace there. We may also notice that we are grieving not only the people who are dying or will certainly die, but also grieving our favorite pastimes, travel, our summer plans, our friends. We might be mourning the loss of control over the future. We might find ourselves having trouble regulating our emotions. Maybe our concentration levels are low, or we just can't do the complex tasks like we once could. But we may feel a bit numb and foggy, and we might be grieving. You might also notice that grief over this pandemic is bringing up other past losses, especially those that were not resolved. It helps me to make a list of the things and people we are losing and have lost and will lose in this pandemic, to put into words the loss, to talk to someone. Maybe it's myself or someone from the pastoral care team. Naming things helps. Facing the pain, feeling it for what it is, loss, is okay and is good. It is okay to despair. It's okay to be a mess. It's okay to let the tears roll. This is all normal. I think we need reminders and models of let it be. We must see seeds grow before we can believe in sowing them. McCartney helps us a bit, whose mother helped him. The Tao helps us a bit. It says our left minds, our intellects can't grasp the Tao, that we need to look inside our hearts. In other words, the right hemisphere. During this COVID-19 pandemic, all we can do is let things be. The most ancient of wisdom. Let it be is more than words. It's the things in the melody, the harmony. It's the peas poking up in our gardens. It is hope. The left part of my brain, in a loop about the future, needs the balance of those three words whispered. All we can do is let things be and rest. Feel the suffering of the sick, the ones on the ventilators. The more compassionate we are, the more resilient we can be. And sometimes, all we can do is sing. Let it be. Acknowledge the cloudy night that is before us, and have the faith that the dawn will come. The deer will continue to nibble our tulips. The earth will still turn gently. The buds will blossom. The grass will keep turning green. Sometimes, all we can do is sing. Let it be. Sometimes, that is all the hope there is, and that is enough. Amen, and blessed be.